Welcome to the Roadmap to 1 Million podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Zeal, and if you're looking for the high-level strategies and stories behind building a seven-figure product brand, then you're in the right place. On this show, we'll uncover the advanced strategies, stories, and secrets that you need to know in order to take your e-commerce brand to the next level. Are you ready to uncover your roadmap to 1 million? Let's dive in. Hello. Happy New Year, y'all. Oh my gosh. We made it to 2023. I'm hyped. I hope that you are hyped. Today, I am going to be talking about 5 ways for you to be able to avoid marketing burnout in 2023. So if last year you felt like I have did so much marketing last year and my hands were in everything, and this year I really want to start to focus on finding ways to continue to grow my business and to continue to hit my revenue targets, but without me having to do all the marketing or have your hands in everything or feeling like you're really having to drive the ship on your marketing rather than having your team involved and all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to talk about 5 different ways to keep you from doing the most this year so that you can actually focus on living your life. That's a lot of what I've been hearing this year, and just thinking about, and this is kind of a tip for you as well. Like, if you're thinking about, you're looking at what your customers are posting, look at what your clients are talking about right now. A lot of my clients, a lot of people who are my 10 potential clients are talking about how last year completely wiped them out as far as marketing. A lot of people that I've been talking to are burnt out from the marketing that they did last year, feeling like they did so much. And whether they hit their revenue targets or not, a lot of the people that I'm talking to or that in my world or leads for me are talking about how they have been doing too much last year and they're really looking forward to pulling back, myself included, right? Like, I'm looking forward to pulling back this year and being able to increase my revenue, but not having to do all the things that I did last year. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And so if you want to learn more options about the options that you have to make more money by doing less, definitely send me a DM so we can talk about some of these different options for you. We can talk about some different ways that I can help you to really decentralize yourself from your marketing this year. And so before I jump into the 5 ways, I want to tell you who I am for the new year, for the new people who are newly established in my community. Hey, y'all, my name is Stacey, and I am a fractional chief marketing officer and a Facebook and Instagram ads expert that's generated over $150 million, leading paid social efforts for brands like Crocs, UGG, Adidas, and I did all of that while working at Zappos. I help CEOs remove themselves from the center of their marketing so that they can increase their sales and they can continue to increase their revenue, but they don't have to do it while using all of their time. I help them to create strategies, systems, and provide executive leadership and direction and training to their teams so that they're not the ones who is having to do all of that, right? And so that they can focus on doing other things that they're going to do to grow their business. And so that's who I help. That's what I focus on. My primary focus is online brands and really just figuring out ways for y'all to decentralize yourself, right? Because you don't have to do all the things. You don't have to do the most in order to hit your revenue target. So let's talk about these 5 ways. So 5 ways. So these are in no particular order. Honestly, these just kind of came up as I was thinking about what I'm doing, my planning that I'm doing right now. I'm working on my plans, working on client annual plans, working on 90-day sprint plans, all those kinds of things. And so these are the kinds of things that just came up when I'm thinking about that. So the first way, and one of my literally awesome favorite ways that I really helped to systematize and avoid and pull myself out of the marketing last year was to create marketing SOPs. And so if you don't know what an SOP is a standard operating procedure. So it's essentially a document that tells you how to do something. And a lot of times when we think about SOPs, we think about automation in our business, or we think about things like sales. We think about so many different other areas of our business that require systems, like a system for hiring somebody, a system for onboarding a client. We have all these systems and these SOPs that outline these kinds of things for our business, but we're not thinking about our marketing. And so a couple of things that you can do for your marketing, for example, what I did last year that was a game changer. And so end of last year, when I launched my podcast, Roadmap to 1 Million, I created an SOP for Roadmap to 1 Million. And essentially that is a Google Doc that talks from step, all the way from conceptualizing the episode all the way through the marketing and promotion. And so essentially I have my marching orders for like when I come up with the content, when I record it, where I put it. My assistant has her steps of when she takes over for the editing and writing the show notes. But then also the important part here where it talks to marketing is that we also built in the marketing there, because essentially what I have established in that SOP is, here are the Canva templates for the podcast. Here, the podcast should be promoted on Tuesdays when it comes out. On Wednesdays, it should be promoted when it comes out. On Wednesdays, we should have a post. And on Thursday, we should also have a post. It tells my assistant where to go to get those Canva templates, right? Instead of having to find and figure out which ones. It talks about, posting my show notes on LinkedIn. It talks about sending out an email to our list. And so think about different things that you have in your business. When you're thinking about your needle movers, right? This is what we want to focus on. Focus on your needle movers. What in your marketing is actually moving the needle? Is it, for example, another SOP I have is from when I do a workshop. Like if I host a live workshop, there's an SOP for it. So we know, when are we starting promotion? When are we promoting the webinar? What happens afterwards, right? What do we have to do to update the sales pages? All that kind of stuff. And so think about your top needle movers, whether it's ads, and I create SOPs for ads as well, whether it's ads, whether it's emails, whether it's workshops, whether it's, Instagram, posting, making sure that all your content gets posted on Instagram. How do you create reels, right? Like, how do you come up with the topic for your reels? If you're finding that reels are really driving your business, then you want to make sure that you have an SOP for how to do things on Instagram. For example, after I go live, this will become a post, right? And so that's something that you can outline in your SOP, is like, Stacey goes live on Monday. On Monday, we post a live. That's a piece of content. On Tuesday, the assistant will go through and pull out a piece of a content from this live and post it as a reel, right? Like, so these are different things that you can outline, because that helps you and it helps your team to understand, like, what are all the steps that have to be done in order for us to get things out. That's one of the biggest projects I'm working on with this new client that I just onboarded, is figuring out how do we create this new fractional chief marketing officer client that I have. Is we need to create SOPs for all the stuff that we're doing that's moving the needle, so that way the team is aligned on what has to be done, and everybody knows where their job starts, where it ends, and where the other person picks up and where the other person ends, right? So that is a number one thing that you can do, is to create marketing SOPs. And if you have questions about marketing SOPs, make sure you send me a DM and we can talk about it. The second piece is to focus on what's actually driving revenue for your business. I understand, y'all. We all want to be on TikTok. I don't personally, but we all want to be. A lot of people want to be on TikTok. Everybody's talking about how TikTok is the greatest thing since sliced bread, how it's the new kid on the block, how it's going to wipe Facebook off the planet, all these things. But if TikTok is not driving you sales or leads for your business, stop putting all your time into TikTok. Don't put your effort into things just because they are popular. If you're finding that Instagram is working really, really well for you, and you've been posting organically on Instagram, you've been getting sales, you've been doing all the things on Instagram, instead of jumping over to TikTok, because it's a completely different platform. What performs on Instagram does not perform on TikTok, right? And so instead of saying, like, where Instagram's going really well, maybe you want to say, let's actually figure out how we can do Instagram better. Let's start running some Instagram ads, right? Like, we've mastered organic on Instagram. Let's run some ads behind that. Hey, are you doing all the things when you'd rather be CEOing? What if instead of doing all the things like figuring out the marketing strategy and leading the team, you could free up your time to focus on other areas of your business that really need your attention? That's possible when you work with my team at Stacey Zeal & Co. We are strategic marketing partners for e-commerce brands that want to take their sales and impact to the next level. Ready to stop playing small and do what it takes to become a big-ass impactful brand? Head over to roadmapto1million.com to book a call with me. Don't wait. Now. Right now is your time. Head over to roadmapto1million.com to book a call with me. I look forward to helping you get to your next level. So those are different things that you can do. It's like thinking about, like, for me, for example, for my business, one of the biggest things that drove a lot of business last year was relationships. And so one of the things that's on my list for this year is to make sure that I reach back out to people who I connected with last year, reestablish those coffee chats, really start to talk to people, let them know what I have going on, right? Or anything like, content. If you find that there are certain blog posts that you write, or there are certain podcasts that you publish that drive you sales, figure out ways for you to talk about that more, or to even run ads to those kinds of things, which is something later on this list. But you don't have to really do all the things. That's the key point here. You don't have to do all the things. You don't have to have a YouTube channel because everybody's on YouTube. You don't have to have a TikTok page because everybody's on TikTok. What you need to figure out is when you go through when you look at last year, figure out what actually moved the needle last year and what didn't. Of course, you're going to have some bets, some things that you are untested that you don't know, that you're like, hey, we want to try this, we want to try that, right? This is not to say don't try anything new, but it's to say that if you're thinking about where to put your efforts this year and where you're going to put your time and your money, focus on the things that are actually moving the needles in your business, rather than just trying to say, hey, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Pinterest, we're doing all the things, right? Like all marketing works. I just did a live about that. Like if you listen to the last week's podcast, one of the lessons is all marketing works. You just have to figure out what works for you, right? Like webinars work, podcasts work. You can ask so many different people, ads work. So many different people see all these different things that work in their business or work in different areas of business. You have to figure out what are the couple things, the 2 or 3 things that really, really work for me, and how do I maximize on those things? All right. Number 3 is to plan your launches around your life, or plan your marketing campaigns around your life. This is something that is new for me this year, actually. And I actually went in before I started to do any annual planning, before I started to figure out what we're going to be focused on. I went in and booked off vacations. I went and booked off times that I want off, different things that I want to do throughout the year. I blocked them off before I even started my plan. So that way, once I've started to create my plan, once I've started to really figure out like, okay, when are we going to be launching certain things? When are we going to, what time of periods of the year are going to require me to have more effort and to show up more than some other times of the year, right? And so because I did that, I can actually see like, oh, nope, I'm not going to book anything on here because I needed a break, right? Because I'm going to be going hard until my vacation and I need a break, right? And so make sure that you outline stuff that happens in your life before you start to make your plan, because marketing, nothing in marketing is emergency, right? There are very few hard and fast things in marketing that is like, if you don't do it today, then you will fail, right? Like, maybe Black Friday, if you miss out on Black Friday and that's your biggest day of the year, then that's probably something that you want to make sure you're planning for, right? Like when I was at Zappos, we had blackout dates around Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So we could not travel or be on vacation or doing all these other things at certain periods of the time of the month. And that's important for your team to know too, right? Like I am planning on sharing my schedule with my team so that they know when I won't be here, right? Or when we're not going to be, so they can also plan their lives accordingly, right? Like me and my assistant were both off last week. Like it wasn't just me that was out living life off last week. My assistant was also off, but podcast still went out, promotion still went out. All these things still happened because we, planned around, we knew in advance, hey, we're going to take off. So let's make sure that we take these 2 weeks before we go off and actually really go hard and schedule stuff out. So that way next week when we're off, we don't have to do too much. So that's number 3, establish your life first and then build your business around it. Number 4, run ads to your best stuff. Y'all, organic reach drops every year. Okay. We are at a new year. Every year it's going to get harder and harder and harder to get your content in front of people without paying for it, especially when people need you. And when people are not thinking about you, there is power in being able to show up when people need you, but they're not thinking about you. That's the beautiful thing about social ads. That's why I love Facebook and Instagram ads. It doesn't require somebody to have the intent to purchase in order to show them a message. And for example, a quick example of that for y'all to understand is that Ideal Image. I just started seeing a bunch of Ideal Image, which is a laser hair removal ads in my timeline. I started seeing them a couple weeks ago and I was like, oh shit, I've been meaning to reach out to get pricing because I've had it before. I loved it. I want to get it again. And it's been something that's on my mind, on my to-do list, but so are 1,000 other things. But when I start seeing those ads and they keep popping up, I'm like, oh, let me go ahead and fill out this form. Let me get pricing. It just because I'm not thinking about you, just because I'm not Googling the problem that you solve right now does not mean I don't have it. I'm just not thinking about it. It's not top of mind enough for me to be Googling it right now. But if I still have it and you're able to show up, you're able to show me a solution, you're able to get me into your world via paid advertising, then that's a great way for you to get a lot more leads without having to do as much work as it's going to take organically to get to fill your funnel. And so for example, with one of my clients, if you think about, with my client, we're running ads right now and we're spending about $3.50 a lead. We've added about 100 and something leads to their pipeline within the last 60 days. And thinking about that, it's like, what would an extra 120 leads do for your business? one of those leads converts and a high ticket offer, and you're paying and you're making your money back, right? If you think about your best workshop, if your best workshop that you do converts at 50% and you got 100 more people to get in there, right? That's 50 more conversions that you wouldn't have gotten if you didn't actually pay to get more people in front of your offer. Because the thing is, people have the problem that you solve. Sometimes it's just about being able to get it in front of them and getting it in front of them in enough times and getting it in front of them at the right time so that they can actually convert, right? So that they can actually do something. So that's something I'm also making a big bet on this year is whenever I do workshops, whenever I do any, lead generation, all that kind of stuff is going to start to be, you're going to start seeing ads from me. You're going to start seeing my face all over the timeline, okay? Because I create a ton of content. I create a ton of things, but sometimes things don't get as many views as they should. So you're on this hamster wheel of continuing to create content, when really only 50 people saw it. But if 150 people saw it, you probably would have gotten better conversions, right? Or if 2,000 people saw it versus 100 people saw it, what would happen? What would that do for your numbers? What would that do for your business, right? So thinking about advertising, not just about the money that you're spending, you're really paying to get people's attention, to get in front of people who potentially have the problem that you solve without having to rely on the algorithm, without having to trick the algorithm, without having to create thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of content. You may have, my client that I was just talking about with 120 leads, we have 2 ads that are running that's generated hundreds and hundreds of leads, right? And it was about figuring out how to get it right. And so it took testing. But once you got it right, like those ads have been running. And so if you're thinking about it organically, we would have had to create those, that video. We'd had to post that video 10, 20, 30 times in order to even get a piece of that. Right. So that's the power of advertising. And if you are thinking about running ads for your business this year, you definitely want to send me a DM, because I do have my AMPLIFY training program where you'll be able to work with me for 8 weeks, and I'll walk you through creating your ads, running them, building, figuring out, making sure your messaging is on point, figuring out where to send them, all the things that I do with clients to help them to add automation to their business. Definitely want to send me a DM if you're interested in learning more about how I can work with you to train you on how to do this so that you can do it right, so that you're not out here trying to figure out how to do it. You're not out here trying to take a course that you're not actually gonna follow through on, but you're working with me live, and you get that accountability of showing up with me every week saying, okay, did you create the videos that I asked you to create? Did you do this? Did you do that? Right? Sometimes we really just need that accountability. We need somebody to actually put our feet to the fire, and you need an expert. You need someone who knows how to do this, who can look at an ad account and say, oh, this is what's wrong. This is built in completely incorrect. You're not going to get any results. This is why this is not working, right? So definitely send me a DM. You can DM me on Instagram, DM me on Facebook. I'm all over these social streets. You can hit me on Voxer if you want to learn more about that. Okay, so that was number 4. Number 4 was to run ads to your best stuff, okay? And number 5, the last one, is to hire a fractional chief marketing officer. And so I have a podcast episode on Roadmap to 1 Million is the name of my podcast. You can listen to episodes 9 and 10. Episode 9 is about how to know when to hire a chief marketing officer. Now, episode 10 is about whether you should be hiring an agency to run your ads, to do any of your marketing or run your ads, or if you should be running in-house. And that episode, surprisingly, is my most popular episode about agency versus in-house. So it seems to be a very popular problem. And so when you're thinking about hiring a marketing consultant or a fractional chief marketing officer or whatever kind of degrees of marketing support you need, you want to think about, 1, are you holding up your marketing? Does everything still have to flow through you? If social posts still need to flow through you, if emails that need to go out still need to flow through you, whatever it is that needs to flow through you, if you are the bottleneck, if you are holding stuff up, you need to start to figure out how to replace yourself. And thinking about when you have a marketing consultant or a fractional chief marketing officer is going to come in, at least I'll speak for my team. We come in and we'll look at the big problems to figure out, okay, what are our big problems that we have right now? One of the biggest problems I'm solving for some of my clients right now is figuring out how to make sure that their team is doing this, that products actually get executed, right? Because teams are actually, people are confused about whose role it is to do what, right? They're like, oh, well, am I supposed to do that? Are you supposed to do that? How do we make sure that everything's going out cohesively? How do we get ahead of our marketing? How do we put the right strategies in place? How do we make sure that the right team members are doing the right things? These are kinds of things that marketing consultants or chief marketing officers do for your business. I'm not going to come in to tell you hey, you need to be posting, one more time on Instagram per week, right? I'm going to be looking at data and figuring out, okay, what are the big problems? If you have a customer acquisition problem, that's a big problem that we need to solve, that you can tackle it in multiple different ways. So we need to figure out what is the best strategy for you to be able to solve your client acquisition problem, right? I'm not coming in and talking to you about, how to make pretty Instagram photos, right? That's someone on your team who are your social media manager, the person who's on your team who's posting on your social. Their job is to figure out how to keep up with the trends, how to use the right audio, how to do all those kinds of things, right? But when I'm coming in, I'm looking at the high level strategies to make sure that the outputs that you're putting in are actually connecting to the inputs that you're doing. So making sure that whatever marketing you're doing and whatever things your team is doing is actually driving back to revenue, is actually matching back to the goals of the business, rather than just saying, oh, we have a cute TikTok page, or oh, our Instagram page is pretty, right? It's not about pretty, right? It's about making sure that whatever outputs you're putting out are actually bringing revenue into the business. And that's what I help people to understand. I help CEOs to understand, like, what are the things that we really need to be focusing on? How do we do them very, very well? Right? I'm not in the business of teaching you how to do all the things. I'm in the business of teaching you how to do very specific things very, very well. So that way you can take your business to the next level. So you can scale, you can increase your revenue, and you can do it efficiently. And you can do it without burning out, without feeling like you have to go live every day, without feeling like you have to create 10 blog posts, without feeling like you have to create 17 reels a day, right? Like without feeling like you as the center of your marketing, without feeling like you as a CEO is the center of your marketing. And if you want to grow that 7-figure business, if you want to take your business to the next level, you have to find ways to decentralize yourself from the marketing. And you have to create systems for scale, right? Like things that are scalable are systematized. That's one of the things I learned definitely working behind big brands, is that things are systematized. There are ways to do things. There are ways to establish to do things. You have to have the right team members in place, all those things. So let me recap those 5 for y'all so that y'all have those before we wrap. So the first way to avoid marketing burnout is to create marketing SOPs, which are marketing standard operating procedures, where you outline exactly from top to bottom what happens when when things need to go out. Like, so for example, if you have a blog post, you write blog posts every week, what happens from conceptualizing that blog post all the way to promoting it? That's a marketing SOP. And when you have that, it helps your team to know what points they pick up, what points you leave off. And making sure that things go out, things flow. Number 2 is to focus on what's actually driving revenue. So looking at your data, one thing I did last year, when I was thinking about my plan, was I went back and looked at every customer that I had and said, like, where did they come from? Where did these customers come from? Right? What did we have to do? All of my customers came through sales calls. So you know what I'm doing this year? I had to change every call to action I have to a sales call or a DM. Right? Because those are where people are coming from. That's where I'm talking to people. That's where they're converting, right? People need to talk to me in order to convert. And so now that I know that, I'm not going to try to just create applications. I'm not trying to do all these other sales techniques that you can do, because everything works, right? You can do so many different things. Everything works, but it's about finding what works for your business. Okay. So focus on what's actually driving revenue, and not just saying like, oh, I'm on TikTok just because TikTok is cool and everybody says you need to be on TikTok. 3, plan your launches around your life. So plan your business around your life, making sure that you've already blocked off specific times during the year that you're going to take a break, or that you and your team are going to take a break, that you're going to be able to come back and re-strategize and really look at what's going on. Number 4 is to run ads to your best stuff. Y'all, I am really beyond the days where we're holding on to our coins so tightly that we cannot actually invest in our growth. And that's what you're doing with ads. And especially when you're doing Facebook, Instagram ads, you're investing in visibility. You're investing in being able to get your one piece of content in front of thousands and thousands of millions and millions of people without you having to actually show up without you having to create 17 reels a day, right? Without you having to trick the algorithm, right? Into getting more eyeballs in your content. That's what you do with ads. Thinking about it as an investment in getting your content in front of more people, right? Without you having to do all the extra stuff. And then number 5 was to hire a fractional chief marketing officer. If you find that you are the bottleneck in your marketing and you don't know how to get out, that's where you want to definitely hit me up so we can talk about it. Because all of my CEOs they're ambitious. They have big goals. They want to change the world. They have amazing products, amazing apps, amazing services that change the world, right? But they're not a marketer. So they don't know what it takes to actually build out a marketing team that decentralizes themselves. They don't know what it takes what things that they can actually do to remove themselves from having to show up live every day. right? They want to know how they can make it so that their business continues to grow, but they don't have to actually be the ones that leads the ship on that. They can actually have someone that can work with their team and that can train their team on how to do this. Because I tell my clients, I don't want to be your chief marketing officer forever. I don't plan on being a CMO forever, right? I want to be able to come in, work with you for a year, 2 years, train someone on your team to be able to do this, to be able to take over my job. So that way you can continue to build your team in-house. Right. So if you're a CEO that finds value in building your team in-house, you definitely want to reach out to me so we can so I can talk to you about how to structure your team, how to build your team in-house, all that kinds of things. So that way, again, you're not at the center, right? If you think about it, Adidas CEO, Zappos, CEO, all these different CEOs of these big major businesses, right? Target CEO. People use Target CEO all the time. You do not call Target and get on the phone with Target CEO, right? Like you do not call the marketing team. You don't have call the marketing team and get on the phone with the CEO, right? There's a process that you have to go through. Okay, so definitely want to make sure that I hope that those things were helpful. Definitely make sure y'all check out Roadmap to 1 Million, my podcast. A new episode is coming out tomorrow. That episode is about brand voice. So this is kind of building into that. There's a series of decentralizing yourself. So how is it that you can create SOPs, or you can create different guidelines in your business so that people can speak like you, so that you don't have to be the one writing copy all the time. You don't want to have to be the one coming up with the captions, all that kind of stuff. So make sure y'all listen to that. Make sure y'all subscribe to Roadmap to 1 Million. That comes out tomorrow. But also make sure that if you know that you are the holdup, if you know that you are the drama, you are the problem in your marketing, definitely send me a DM or book a sales call with me, and we can talk about different ways that you can work with my team, or I can send you recommendations of what you can do to really focus on how to decentralize yourself from the marketing so that you can scale, you can grow without having to burn out. So no questions. I'm gonna go ahead and close there. But if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them there, and I'll come back on and answer them. But hope this was helpful, y'all. I will see y'all on the next live. Happy New Year. Let's kick this year off right, y'all. I hope your annual planning is going well. My annual planning, I am super excited about it. I'm finalizing it today, and it's fire. So, all right, y'all. Talk to y'all next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Roadmap to 1 Million podcast. I just know you got a nugget or two from that episode that will take your brand to the next level if you take action. Keyword, take action. So head over to stacyzeal.co/checklist to get a free resource that will help you to take action on what you learned today so that you can get on to building the brand of your dreams. And be sure to leave us a review so businesses like yours can get this gold as well. All right, y'all. I'll see you on the next episode.